Oh, so Archon Studios has had yet another Ask Me Anything, another AMA about the Starcraft miniatures game, which is getting released in mere months. Now, if you want to know everything that we know about the game so far, go back and watch our other video, link in the description, called Everything We Know So Far on Starcraft the Miniatures Game. This is adding to that video with new information. I got up super early, had my little coffee, 5 a.m. in Australia, so you didn't have to. Now you don't have to go watch a big 2-hour AMA. I got everything you need to know right here. So what did they talk about this morning on the AMA? Well, they talked about the new Founders Edition starter boxes and the contents that are included in those boxes. They're also talking about, they talked about the schedule and the timeline of that first year, so we'll look at that in a sec. Then they also fielded Q&As throughout the entire time, which is the point of the whole live stream. And they also talked about the beta testers app. So a bunch of people signed up to be beta testers and they talked about what that looks like and how the app functions. As always, they kicked off with a disclaimer that basically says, don't hold us to our word about anything that we say in this video because it could change. So I'm going to use the same disclaimer. All of the stuff we talk about is subject to change because the game's not out yet. So there could be any last minute tweaks to it or whatever, but let's assume 95% of the things we discuss in this video are what you're going to see at launch. Okay, so the thing people want to know most at the moment is the timeline. So let's go to the timeline. We have pre-orders no later than 10th of March. So that means they don't want to start any later than 10th of March. You can expect pre-orders to be before then. And they're going to end the 31st of March because they're going to start shipping April to May. So that's when you can expect your parcel to be going out. Now, they've got Adepticon coming up, and that's March 25th, I believe. And they're actually selling physical product at Adepticon. That's their plan. So that fits in pretty nicely with the timeline. They'll be selling stuff at Adepticon and then also shipping it to the rest of us who can't attend. And then Wave 1 is in June, and that's when we're going to get some heavy support. I expect that's going to be things like siege tanks, but that's just me guessing. Then Wave 2 is in August. We're getting Psychers and Heroes. Then there's a narrative campaign coming out by Sam Pearson, who's an ex-Games Workshop employee and does phenomenal work. So you could be excited that that's actually not just going to be an afterthought of a narrative campaign, but something that's actually going to be a really big staple for this game. We've also got Wave 2 coming in October, where they're adding flying units, which is super exciting. And then you'll see in December, they mixed up the waves here. It's actually Wave 3 is coming in October with flying units, and Wave 4 in December with what they say is Ground Classic and Heroes. You might say, what does Ground Classic mean? Great question. That's Brood War era miniatures, which is really cool. They confirmed in the AMA that there are going to be original StarCraft Brood War miniatures hitting this line because they have the license for the full scope of StarCraft. So that's awesome. Everyone's been asking about that, and a lot of people prefer the aesthetics of Brood War. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with the aesthetics that they currently have, which is more StarCraft 2, by bringing in those Brood War units. What are they going to look like? I'm excited to see what they do with it. Okay, so what are we actually pre-ordering? What are we getting in the box? You can see we've got the 2-player starter set. This is the Founders Edition, and you'll hear us talk about the Founders Edition mostly in this video because that's what they announced. They did say that there's going to be a normal edition of the starter sets, which is basically these less the heroes and maybe some other stuff. They're kind of like scaled down versions. But this 2-player starter set gets you 2 forces. You get the Terran and the Zerg there. You've got your heroes. You've got Jim Raynor and Kerrigan. You've got your special things like a Nidus Worm in there. There's some Marauders and Medics. Very cool. Everything that you see is what you get there. And the price is also confirmed, which is awesome. The price is, let me check my notes. All right, so it's $199 USD for everything you see in this picture, which is about 160 euro or 300 AUD for the Aussie homies. And you get 1,000 points in each faction. They recommend playing this game, like the full-size game is 2,000 points. So this kind of gives you a nice little starting force for you to play around with and see what you like, see what units, how they play, how the play styles go. And then you can buy the separate unit boxes, which are going to be available on launch as well. So you might buy this, split it with a mate. Maybe you're playing the Zerg and you want more roaches after playing. You really love them, so you go get 2 boxes of roaches and maybe another queen. I don't know I can't remember how the list building worked, but we did talk about that a little bit in the previous video. Again, link in the description for that. Oh, and as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, you get some terrain, a mat, token, dice, absolutely everything that you need, which is really cool. Now you might be looking at that and being like, well, where's the Protoss? Well, they actually have their own starter box, again, a Founders Edition. And in that you can see that one's going to cost 109 USD, they said, 99 euro, probably, what does that translate to in Australia? $700. And there's 1,000 points in that box too. So if you just want to play with your mates, but you prefer Protoss, and they got the starter set, well, don't worry, you can buy this one. You got the same amount of points as them. You can play straight away with them. What I really like about these starter sets too, and the way that they've done the sprues for this game, is that the sprues are colored for the individual factions. So like Marines are blue sprues, Protoss are yellow, and Zerg are like this purple color. And you might say, well, what does that matter? There are a lot of people that play board games and the like, but don't actually get into the painting aspect of this hobby. This means it's not a big jump for them to get into this game, build the stuff, and just play with it as the colored sprues. Maybe they'll get so hyped for the game that they want to learn painting, and that's a great segue into it. But if not, at the very least, we've got them playing tabletop miniatures game, and we just need to keep collecting souls until we have all of them in the world and we can play whatever game we want and find opponents easily. So that's just a good thing. It seems like Archon Studios is very aware that they even mentioned that a large part of the audience is going to be probably pretty casual gamers, and I think they recognize that this game is actually going to be a gateway because StarCraft is such a love for so many people, especially our generation, which make a really good target audience for wargaming as well. So I think they realize it's going to be a gateway game, and they have planned that in a lot of the little things that they did, like I mentioned, the colored sprues. And it's not just going to be one color and boring looking. As you can see, they've still got those translucent sprue that you assemble the things with that gives them some character and just looks cool. They also gave us a nice little scale comparison so that you can get an idea of how big is this stuff. You can see in this picture, this Marine is about the same size as a 40k Primaris Space Marine, if you're familiar. So that can help you get an idea of scale. You can see how big some of these larger units like the Queens and the, what is that thing, Stalkers are, which is awesome. All right, so we know when the stuff's coming, and we know what we're getting in the boxes. They did say something, retailers are going to be pre-ordering the product at the same time as we, the consumers, are. So if you want to get this as early as possible, the best way to do it is to go through Archon's website, Archon Studios website, and pre-order there once pre-orders are live. You can sign up for the newsletter and you'll be notified of that, because otherwise you'll be waiting for your retailer to pre-order it, get it listed in their store. So they said the quickest way to do it initially is just going to be ordering straight from them. And the benefit of that is you'll have free shipping, they said. Now, I don't know what countries that extends to and how much you need to buy to make that happen. They just said it will be free shipping, and that's basically all they elaborated on. All right, so they also talked about many different things because people asked many questions. So I'll go through the ones that I think you want to know the most. I've cherry-picked them because I like picking cherries. So the first thing someone asked was, are the factions, do they differ in difficulty to play? And Archon Studios basically said Protoss has fewer units and they're very powerful. So just like the computer game, they are the easiest to navigate because you've got less things going on. And Terran are at the other end of the spectrum, probably the most complicated with the most going on. They're all still balanced. That's just difficulty of a new person coming in and trying to pick up and play with those forces. That's probably what it looks like. So another question people asked were, do the three factions have different playstyles? They basically said, yeah, Zerg has to spread a lot of creep. Protoss can use pylons to warp things in, which sort of changes the map state. And Terran similarly have dropships and things like that they can pick things up and bring them off the map and bring them back in. So they do all have very distinct playstyles. They also confirmed there's going to be sub-factions, and that's going to be a big part of the game, which is great because people originally were quite concerned. There's only 3 factions in StarCraft. What are you going to do to give this game fresh life? So there are sub-factions, and they changed the playstyle of the army because they have these things called sub-faction cards that might be like Rayna's Raiders. And if you have that card, I think Jim Rayner can then bring his point defense drone, and there's other rules for it. And I think then there's a Kerrigan's Brood instead of the regular Brood if you want to play that sub-faction. And then Kerrigan can bring in her Nidus Worm and things like that. They also said that there will be more sub-factions as the game is released over years 2, 3, 4, etc. But some of them will just be in the form of sub-faction cards, so you use your existing miniatures for those. Some of them, depending on the aesthetics, might just have completely new models. Things like Primal Zerg, or I forget what it's called. Doesn't matter. Another question was asked about the customization of the actual miniatures and what comes on the sprue. Do you have different heads, swappable bodies? What does it look like? They said most things have a common body, like these Marines here, and you can customize them still by putting different arms and different armaments and equipment and stuff on them. So they end up over the course of your army. They all look quite unique, but they may share something like a common body or a common, whatever you call the body of a roach. I don't know what that's called. Still a body, I guess. Something cool that they confirmed as well, by the way, was that there'll be infested Zerg Terrain, which I think is awesome. I'm all about that. Give me that. They also talked a lot, quite extensively about the beta testers program, which I think is closed currently. So I'm not going to talk too much about that because that's for a very specific portion of people that might be interested. You can go to the AMA, which I have linked in the description, and at about the 40-minute mark, they start talking about the beta tester program, the app that you will use for that, etc. So you can go watch that to get more information on that. A couple other little things. They talked about organized play and how that they know that tabletop games need to be competitive and need to have tournaments to survive. So that's going to be a big focus. They've got tournament play kits that they will update over the course of years and really get around that, which is cool. Seems like they understand exactly what they need to do. They need to cater for casual people with the way that they create the boxes and what does it look like for a new player getting into it. Can they get it to the table, play the game and have fun with their friends? Make that as streamlined as possible. But also there's going to be people that want to break this and want to min-max it and want to play in tournaments. So they need to cater for them as well. So it sounds like they're doing a good job focusing on those things and getting it right. Balance has to be perfect, whether or not you're playing for fun or playing in a tournament. They also said demo games are coming soon, so you'll get a chance to see this game played before you pull the trigger on purchasing it. I'm excited for that. Heck, we'd love to do it. Archon Studios, hit us up. I emailed you. You didn't email me back. I was on the front of your door with my boombox and playing, what's the song that they play in the show, Churchy? And they also briefly spoke about scalpers, and this was really cool to me because one thing people asked was like, how do you stop scalpers? They were obviously worried about trying to pre-order this thing and not getting their hands on a copy. Archon Studios said they make everything in-house, so there's no weird production delay about having to deal with a third-party supplier that might be printing this and printing that part and all that, and then combining it somewhere and sending. So you don't get those kind of delays. They're also said, and because of that, they can pivot quicker. So if they were under calculating how much stock they needed, they can just print more units and just start smashing them out and sending them to people, which is great. We did see the promo Zeratul miniature get scalped, and their answer to that was just be patient, because these promo miniatures, although they're limited times for usually like events or whatever, they said they do about 10 of those events a year. So just sign up to the newsletter and you'll get notified in the next month or two about when it's coming out again, so you don't have to pay crazy scalper prices. And you shouldn't. That's how we kill the scalpers. Well, we got to kill them. We got to burn them dead. Need a light? All right, that's everything you need to know about what they talked about in the AMA from this morning. You're all caught up. If you want more Starcraft the Miniatures game content, subscribe to this channel, like this video, tell me in the comments, what do you want to see? Because when we get our hands on it, obviously we're going to be doing painting tutorials. No, that's not, I'm garbage at painting. I'm not going to do that, I'll be honest. We're going to play the game a lot and film us playing the game a lot and doing silly things with it. So if you like that, hit the bell and follow along with us. Oh, and if you want to talk more about StarCraft with us and other people that love StarCraft the Miniatures game, we have a Discord that you can find in the link of this video, or go to hobbyhomies.com, click the Discord button. We have a StarCraft channel specifically. We've got all kinds of channels for all kinds of different games because we've got war gamers that play everything. And we just love talking about war games. There's a StarCraft one in there. People are chirping about it right now, asking questions from the AMA, which they can just watch this and get the answer. Again, if you want more context, there's another video in the description below that gives you even more information. And with this and that video, you're up to date on everything you need to know. Until the next one, which is a couple weeks before pre-orders. So I'll be keeping my eye on that. As soon as that comes out, I'll make another condensed video just for you guys. And I'll see you then.